absolutely does. By choosing lethal or non-lethal, basically it affects how the rest of the game is, but it also affects the ending of the game.
Okay, alright. So, I mean, obviously you can kind of tailor the augmentations to how you want to play it, like stealth or all-out combat. But give us an idea of sort of the breadth of the augmentations and how quickly they're accessed.
Okay, so the augmentations basically support the four main pillars of the game. So basically that's action, stealth, hacking, and social. So they completely support all of those. So you can, depending how you want to play, you could be selective about which one you want to use. And as I said, you know, we have practice points in the game, so you have to basically get those, and that will kind of, you know, you have to use how you want, you know, how you want to play for the orgs.
Sure. Okay. But I mean, won't Adam end up a bit overpowered by the end of the game? I mean, if there are all these different ones on offer, if he kind of just keeps upgrading himself, is when the game become a walkover?
Well, because you can only earn, like, you have to earn your practice points, you pick up practice kits, there's no way that you will be invincible,
okay.
You know? So you've actually got to be quite selective how you spend those practice points.
Okay, now you said obviously one of the four pillars of the game is a social aspect, and in the demo we saw Pritchard didn't want to hear too much more from the guard, and he seemed to get kind of annoyed. But I mean, beyond it kind of being a bit more interesting, how does the game reward players for kind of really exploring all the different conversation options?
Well, by talking to people, that's how you get all your side missions.
Okay.
Pretty much. So it's always good to talk to people, and also, you know, I mean, for me, I like to kind of know lots of what's actually going on in the game. That's the only way you can get all the information, because you've got, you know, Pritchard, who gives you some information, but if you want to know the whole story, you've got to talk to me.
Okay, well, I mean, talking of the story, I mean, you mentioned at the start that Adam's not really given a choice about being augmented, it's to save his life, right? I mean, how does that impact on his character? Give us an idea of sort of his mental outlook in the game.
Well, I can't really say too much about Adam and the whole augmentations and everything, but, you know, but it's an interesting moral element about Deus Ex, I think. It's kind of like, you know, because it's a society in the near future where neuroprosthetics has like reached a new level, and there are people who have and people who have not, and it's that kind of that makes quite an interesting debate, you know, because we're not saying whether it's right or wrong. So I think that's what people, after they play it, maybe to talk about.
Sure. I mean, we heard it kind of in the demo that Sarah have got like this kind of secret military prototype, which sounds fairly immoral. I mean, how deep does this morality vein go in Human Revolution?
I mean, to be honest, everyone, I'm sure, would have a completely different opinion about everything, but you know, it's one to kind of experience something, to be honest.
Okay, now obviously, I mean, there's a huge amount of choice for the player. It is, of course, an RPG. Is that a difficult thing to balance? I mean, you know, how well they're done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the most challenging thing is to make sure it all blends nicely into the story arc. So yeah, it's kind of like logic and creativity kind of in action, really.
Okay, and now, I mean, obviously, you know, talking about how the game kind of plays out and how you choose, just going back to the augmentations briefly, you only get so many practice points, you can only do so many upgrades. Do people have to choose fairly early on between stealth and combat, or can they kind of change it up a bit? Is it a bit more flexible?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there are some augmentations that are just useful, generally.
Okay.
Like the Icarus system that I mentioned, where you can jump from any height, whether you're playing stealth or action, it doesn't really matter, it's actually useful.
Sure.
Likewise, the smart vision, where we showed off the X-ray. So there are some that's actually good to just have. But, you know, or you could just choose not to augment Adam at all, and just boost up your weapons.
Okay.
If you want to.
Sounds interesting. Now, we saw a bit of hacking there in the demo. Can you just give us an idea of kind of how much there is in the game, and, you know, kind of how varied it is as well?
Because it's all about kind of choices, you can choose if you want to get really heavily into hacking. Alternatively, as I said, if you talk to people, eavesdrop, look around, you'll actually, there may be ways that you won't actually have to hack at all. But it's useful because, you know, you can hack into people's computers, and one thing that's really cool in the game is like you can hack into people's emails, and then you can actually get so much information off that. So, and also there are, as I said, augmentations that support hacking as well.
Okay, So if a hacking minigame isn't your thing, you could kind of get around that then.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess that kind of wraps everything up. I mean, are you guys excited, or what do you think? Again, no one ever cheers unless you're offering free stuff. If we were theoretically to offer free stuff, would you make a bit more noise? Well, that's convenient. We've got some free stuff. Now, you obviously seem like some tech-savvy people being at MCM. Does anyone here have an iPhone? Well, we've got some delightful Jella skins to give away, compatible with the 3 or the 3GS. You can come pick them up from here at the front of the stage. I guess first come, first serve. We're just going to put them down here. But in the meantime, make some noise for Deus Ex. Thanks to Roxy.
Oh, and the game is out. Sorry, I didn't actually say that. The game is out 26th of August on 360, PS3 and PC.
Okay, well, I think that just about does it from us. Up next, I think we got Dynasty Warriors going in 3. That's kicking off in about 10 minutes time. In the meantime, yeah, thanks again.